What it do, YouTube? It's the OG Mr. Mike. Back at y'all with another video. We got Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia seems to believe that fighting somebody like Tony Harrison does nothing for him. You know, he says it only benefits Tony Harrison. You know, which is odd to me, simply because Tony Harrison is in the position to or putting himself in the position to get a shot at undisputed at 154. So for Danny Garcia to say fighting Tony Harrison does nothing for him and only benefits Tony Harrison is odd. But, you know, I know what it is. Tony Harrison, in my opinion, is a bad matchup for Danny Garcia. You know, Danny Garcia can fight. He definitely can fight. And he in his last fight, he used good movement against Jose Benavidez Jr. But you definitely the smaller guy when it comes to Tony Harrison, and your movement is not going to work against Tony Harrison because Tony Harrison can move as well. Tony Harrison has all kind of advantages over Danny Garcia. I'm talking about he has just as many advantages over Danny Garcia than he has over Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu and Danny Garcia are about the same size. The only difference is Tim Tszyu's arms are longer than Danny Garcia. And you know, I just have to remind you that Tony Harrison has a 76.5-inch reach. And you know, and that's the biggest advantage Tony Harrison has over everybody as far as size. Not to mention, he's a world-class boxer. Guy's never been outboxed. He has the ability to beat Danny Garcia from the outside. He's bigger, he's faster. So if I can see that that's a bad matchup for Danny Garcia can see it. He knows it. So Danny Garcia does that a lot. He'll put himself on a pedestal to say that fighting this person does nothing for him if he don't want to fight him. That's not the first time Danny Garcia done said something like that. Well, I'm the star, you know, I'm the money man, I'm this, I'm that, if he didn't want to fight somebody. But it makes no sense for you to say fighting Tony Harrison does nothing for you, because Tony Harrison has one fight in front of him before he has the shot as the mandatory to fight for undisputed. So how is fighting Tony Harrison not beneficial to you as well? That's crazy. I just think that the difficulty of that fight concerns Danny Garcia. People can talk about, you know, Tony Harrison getting knocked out. But like I said, Tony Harrison has never, ever been outboxed. Not even by Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo had to knock him out that second fight. And even in the first fight, he was outboxing Jermell. I just think Jermell just outworked him. So Danny Garcia running around here talking about Tony Harrison, a fight with Tony Harrison that does nothing for him, is a bunch of nonsense. he's gonna continue to do that throughout that division. If it's guys that Danny Garcia don't want to fight, that's the excuse he's gonna use. Fight such and such does nothing for him. Now he's talking. He mentioned fighting Erislandy Lara. He wouldn't dare fight Erislandy Lara if Erislandy Lara was like he used to be. Used a bunch of lateral movement. I mean, very skilled, very tricky fighter. Danny Garcia wouldn't have anything, wouldn't want to have nothing to do with Erislandy Lara. It's just not the type of fighter that he would want to face. But now, you know, Erislandy Lara don't move as much. He goes toe to toe. So, in Danny Garcia's mind, he may be able to land that big left hook and possibly hurt Lara. But I mean, even now, Lara still got a good chin. He's bigger, still faster. So even him fighting Erislandy Lara might be a mistake. And don't get me wrong, I like Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is a good fighter. And for the longest, I didn't think Danny Garcia was a good fighter. I thought he was just one of those guys that closed their eyes and threw his shots. But Danny Garcia can fight. I seen him get outboxed though by Mauricio Herrera, like 7 rounds to 5 or 8 rounds to 4. Herrera didn't get the nod. I seen him get outboxed by Lamont Peterson, 7 rounds to 5, easy. But he's still a good fighter. And you know, we all seen what Errol Spence did to him. Errol Spence beat him probably 10 rounds to 2. And those 2 rounds that Errol Spence took off. But anyway, you know, in my opinion, that's just a cop-out for Danny Garcia to say that fighting Tony Harrison does nothing for him. I think that's ludicrous. I think if he wants to win a real belt at 154, he needs to fight Tony Harrison. That's the fastest way. That's the fastest way to a shot at one of those belts. Or all of those belts. But I mean, I look for Danny Garcia to pick and choose who he gonna fight at 154. And again, Danny Garcia is a name. He's a name. And at this point, he's only interested in fighting fights that gonna bring him a good bit of money. And then he'll just claim that, you know, fighting this person or that person does nothing for him. And that's just gonna be his way to kind of hopscotch through the division and not fight certain guys. Tony Harrison probably just the beginning of the guys that Danny Garcia is not gonna want to fight in the division. I mean, and the thing about it is, we all know Jermell Charlo. Jermell Charlo has all the belts at 154. I haven't heard Danny Garcia mention Jermell Charlo. Maybe he have, but I haven't heard him mention it. Jermell Charlo is the king of the division, hands down. My number 1 pound for pound. So you talking about getting the belt or becoming a 3, however many, let's see, what division Danny Garcia? A 3 division, becoming a 3 division world champion. I think Danny started at 140. So he's had a belt at 140. He was unified at 140, I think. And he had a belt at 147. Now he's moved up to 154. The only way to get a get a real belt, you got to fight Jermell Charlo, unless somebody beats Jermell Charlo. And the quickest way to get to Jermell Charlo is either fight. The quickest way is to fight the winner of TMZ, Tony Harrison. And in my opinion, gonna be Tony Harrison. You know, I could be wrong, but you know. But you know, Danny Garcia just bull crapping, man. He just trying to come up with ways not to fight or only fight certain people in the division. And I understand that, you know. He's definitely on the smaller end at 154. So, you know, I can understand him, you know, coming to the end of his career, wanting to only make big fights that bring in big money. But, you know, nobody believes that fighting Tony Harrison, while Tony Harrison is in the position that he's in now, does nothing for you, Danny Garcia. Everybody knows that. So you can go on with that nonsense. Just call it what it is, man. Just call it what it is. But I mean, you guys tell me what you think down in the comment section. It's your OG Mr. Mont. Salute to the mighty LDBC, and I'm out.